Hey guys, and welcome back to another episode. Today, we're going to be doing something a little bit different as we talk about our favorite sim racing series, Gran Turismo, as we prep for the launch of Gran Turismo 7. With the launch of Gran Turismo nearly 25 years prior now, almost as old as some of us, and the release of a new and highly anticipated numbered series entry, we thought it might be nice to put the series under a bit of a retrospective microscope, while also looking at the new game. With a few departures from the mainline series, PSP version, Gran Turismo Prologue, and most recently, Gran Turismo Sport, there have been a few changes that many felt were missing the features and charms of the original games. With GT7, we are now seeing a return to the formula that drew so many of us in all those years ago on the original PlayStation. While examining the return of the king of console sim racers, we thought we'd also take a look at how, and why, the game became such a phenomenon and drew so many of us into car culture. After all, we need something to blame for the current Japanese car prices soaring. It then dawned on me that we have a good friend over at the Small Fry YouTube channel, Speed Academy, Dave Pratte, who could provide us with that glimpse into the past. Having been a car enthusiast for many years, he has a well-rounded background of working for Modified Magazine and now flaunting his big-time influencer skills on YouTube.
All right, BrunerTuner, if that is in fact your real name, I'll answer the 3 questions you sent to me about PlayStation Gran Turismo because, well, frankly, you're a Texan and probably means you're packing heat. So 3 questions coming at you from Dave from Speed Academy. Question 1, how old were you when the original Gran Turismo came out and what was the reception of the game at the time? First of all, BrunerTuner, you never ask a lady how old they are. Did they teach you nothing at finishing school down there in Texas? I would have been, I think 26 when Gran Turismo came out. So yeah, old enough to be your dad, basically. You can call me YouTube daddy if you like. I think it blew a lot of minds. It was, from my perspective, the first video game of its kind that was really, part racing simulator, part, arcade style racing game. Certainly skewing more to the simulator end of things relative to what else had been available at that time. And I especially got addicted to it because of the tuning aspect of it. I love the fact that you could, not only race a whole bunch of cool cars, some of which we never got here, like GTRs and stuff like that, but also that you could modify them. And those modifications actually had a real impact on how much faster the car was and how the car drove. Changes to alignment and stuff would actually affect the car in a way that made sense to me based on my own experience in the real world racing cars and changing alignments on race cars. And so whoever designed the game knew what they were doing. And so as somebody who was already into cars and already into racing, I really appreciated the details that they put in there that made a lot of sense. And I mean, there's also other cool stuff in there, like, they had graphics for all the cool JDM tuning houses and stuff, which, who doesn't love a good sticker pack? So question 2, how do you think the series shaped car culture and enthusiasts of today? I mean, it had a big impact. I wouldn't necessarily, I would say it had at least as big of impact as, say, the Fast and Furious franchise did. Maybe in some ways Fast and Furious was more mainstream and PlayStation, Gran Turismo was more niche, maybe more true car nerd in a sense, because of all the tuning you could do and because of all the different cars you could play and the way you would progress through that game. It really drew you in as a driving enthusiast and as a car enthusiast. So yeah, I think it had a very real and quite a big impact on car culture, especially that generation of like late Gen Xers like me, or the younger generations to follow. I think a lot of their tastes in cars were formed by that game, and that's probably why we're seeing prices go through the roof now for a lot of the JDM legends, as we like to call them around here, because we grew up playing those cars on PlayStation, and now that we're a little older and have some disposable income, we want to play in those cars in real life. So not unlike older generations that were into muscle cars from the 60s and 70s, and when they got old enough to afford them, the prices escalated for those. I think we're saying the same thing happened now with Japanese cars, precisely because those were the cars we were playing in Gran Turismo. So nothing too revelatory there. I'm sure this all makes sense to even a young man like you, BrunerTuner. Was there a favorite car you know of now because of Gran Turismo? Well, I was a grown up at the time, and I was already into cars, so I had I don't think there were any cars. I shouldn't say that. There weren't a lot of cars in Gran Turismo that I wasn't already familiar with, because I was reading, car magazines, and I was at the track a bunch. So I would see some stuff that you wouldn't necessarily see on the street, but there were still some like hot hatches, not only Japanese ones, but European ones that I wasn't necessarily familiar with, that I, grew to be more familiar with through the game. But I think for me, ultimately, it was kind of like the Halo cars that really sparked my interest the most in Gran Turismo, stuff like GTRs. Don't tell Pete I said that. Or, the Honda guy in me also loved like the early on, cup races where you were in Honda Civic Type R, or, something along those lines. I liked the kind of like slow hatchbacky stuff as much as I liked the high horsepower, JGTC, GTRs and Supers and all that kind of stuff. So
A few minutes later.
Question 3 update. That's right, I just scanned the list of cars that were available in Gran Turismo 1, and most of the Japanese stuff I would have been familiar with. Although some of the Mitsubishi stuff, not so much, because we didn't actually have Mitsubishis for sale here in Canada, but we did get some of them through like Dodge and Eagle, rebadges, the whole Diamond Star thing. So what actually I think I knew nothing about before I played Gran Turismo was a British brand called TVR. So they made like the Griffith and the Cerbrera or whatever those were. Basically like very purposeful British sports car manufacturer in that era. I think they were using like Ford V8s in those cars or something. But anyway, I knew nothing about them. Clearly, I don't know much about them now either. But that was maybe the one brand that I learned the most about, or just learned that they existed through Gran Turismo. So it wasn't really the Japanese stuff so much as it was the oddball British stuff. So there you go. Not very JDM of me, but true nonetheless.
Huge thanks to Dave for answering those questions, and for 2 unsuccessful video calls with me, the millennial who can't figure out how to screen record a video call and keep the audio chat working. I promised I'd give their little known YouTube channel a plug, so if you love awesome cars, going fast, or being Canadian with style, check out their channel. Now, let's hear what our cohort Taylor, last name not Bruner nor Tuner, has to say about the upcoming features of GT7 and how it may impact car culture in the future.
So one of the things that always stood out to me whenever I was younger with Gran Turismo as a series versus other racing games was the attention to detail. I think that they were always like a step above everybody else, and from what I'm seeing in this new trailer for Gran Turismo 7, it's definitely still the case. Some things that I thought were pretty cool was like the dynamic weather, the fact that you can watch cloud patterns and as they change, and rain effects, of course, the way you drive, but not only that, but the patterns on the track where the rain would dry more than other places. That's just, it brings a whole new level of, attention to detail that just makes it that much more realistic. Some other things that I'm pretty excited about, I think that the cafe feature is really cool. There's chances to actually get information from the people who design the cars to kind of get their inspirations, what they were hoping to achieve with it. I just thought the museum feature was really cool because you can learn about everything from automobiles going back from when they started up until the present, and just how things have evolved over time. Some returning features that I really like, the campaign mode with like licensing tests. That was one of my favorite things to challenge myself to do when I was younger, was try to always achieve that gold on the licensing test. So I'm looking forward to that. That's always fun. Short little challenges that don't always include going through like a whole race series to get that gold.
I want the gold.
I want the gold. Give me the gold.
Also learning about like the drag races, that's kind of cool. That was never something that was really in Gran Turismo, so that's kind of cool. Change it up a little bit. Also, some other improvements that I'm really looking forward to is the livery editor and the customization, which is just more than I've ever seen. Now, I wasn't one that played Gran Turismo Sport, but I did play like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And the fact that now you can completely customize a car much more beyond than what just the previous, wheel changes and color changes were. That's pretty cool. I always turn to games like Forza to get that car customization, or even like Midnight Club back in the day. But now, Gran Turismo, the world's best driving simulator, is going to have that. So I'm pretty excited for that. And as far as future generations go, future car enthusiasts, I hope that, you know, the level of attention to detail and like how in-depth, you know, car tuning and racing, things like that are. I hope that we can get a new generation of younger kids who are not just into hard parking car shows kind of thing, and really take it to the track and use cars for what they're made for, and not just park them in a garage.
Hard parking, I like it.
Yeah.
Taylor makes a great point about the car enthusiasts of tomorrow. Gran Turismo brought so many of us all into the world of cars on the same boat. I know personally, I was 4 years old when the game came out. It was really my 6th birthday, however, when I received Gran Turismo 2 that set the world of cars even further into motion, creating an almost tangible leap from playing with Hot Wheels and watching car movies. I can so vividly recall scrolling through the car dealerships and looking at every car, and like DP, wondering what the heck a TVR was. This video wasn't set to be a JDM car praise or worship piece, but one simply needs to look at my car collection of all Japanese vehicles to realize what shaped and impacted me as a kid. Most recently, I've played a lot of Gran Turismo Sport, building my sim rig specifically so I could be more competitive and get more practice, but I always felt like it missed some of those core elements from my childhood. Now, I'm excited to see the return of what drove us here in the first place.
So, I want to thank you guys for watching this video and for tuning in. I really hope you enjoyed this episode. It was something a bit different, but I really wanted to celebrate the release of Gran Turismo 7. So thank you guys for watching. Thank you to Dave Pratte over at Speed Academy. Make sure and check those guys out. Now, if you need me, I'll be playing Gran Turismo 7 starting today.
We are failing at internet technologies.
I know. How long do you have before you need to hop on?
Well, I can't hear you at all now.
Oh.